Good evening. A 5-year-old boy and a 52-year-old woman have been taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries after a crash near Winchester this evening. 2 cars were involved in the collision on the Otterbourne Road in Shawford. Police have closed surrounding roads tonight. They're expected to reopen by the morning. Drastic measures to tackle truancy are making a difference in Hampshire. A head teacher and his assistant at a Southampton school have taken to driving around in a minibus to catch children avoiding lessons. Our social affairs correspondent Christine Alsford was given exclusive access.
Hello, it's Redbridge School. Is anyone there?
A weekday morning in Millbrook, Southampton, and teachers who regularly tour the estate, chasing up pupils who should be at school, are doing the rounds.
Will she come down and have a chat to us, do you think? Yeah, see if we can get her down, see if we can try and get her in.
It isn't long before head teacher Jason Ashley and assistant head Sarah Lewis come across boys who are skipping lessons.
Don't walk off. Boys, don't walk off. Mr. Ashley's in the bus and he's done nothing but good things for you. You're not in school. It's not on. Run off into the park, down that way. OK, we'll drive round.
Attendance is the key for better success. For me as a head teacher growing up on a council estate, and I suppose being defined as white working class is something actually I'm very proud of. I don't see that it should be a barrier for students to perform well in school. And the attendance bus has been running for about 3.5 years now, and it has an 80% success rate.
Today, even the head teacher's words fall on deaf ears.
Right, they are, sir. You can pull over and have a little chat to him.
Come here a minute. No, we're not going to have much joy, are we?
No, we're not.
Higher levels of truancy are often linked to areas that face poverty and social problems. But since the bus began, attendance at Redbridge has risen from 89% to nearly 95%.
Good morning, it's only me. School started an hour and a half ago. Let's go.
When the bus first started doing the rounds, many of these seats would have been full of pupils being taken back to school. But staff say that just because they're empty this morning doesn't mean to say the attendance bus isn't working. In fact, it's the complete opposite.
What we find is very often that by the time I get back to school, the child's beaten me to it and they're often in. They might not have wanted to speak to us, they might have known they've been caught out, but actually they know where they need to be and they need to get into school. Up here and left.
There'll be people who will look at this and say, you should be teaching, you shouldn't be spending your time out riding around on a bus trying to get teenagers into school.
Well, I still teach. I know for every student I get in, I'm improving their chances of exam success and therefore improving their life chances. They can go on to college, they can do what they want to do. They've got some choice. So I don't mind it, if it makes a difference.
It's certainly made a difference to Year 11 student Peter Bailey. His attendance up from 64% last year to 100% this. He was constantly on the bus after the death of a relative he was incredibly close to.
I felt like that school was nothing. I didn't think anyone cared for me, but when the school came to my door, I actually felt like someone actually cared on what I was doing.
Practice exam question.
Chloe O'Connor had a different reason for playing truant.
Just laziness, that is it, just pure laziness. I wanted to stay in bed, I wanted to do other things. My mum, she was trying, but she had to obviously contact the school and then they would come around with the bus. It was really embarrassing because I would answer my door in my pyjamas.
The school, just like any other, will get the local authority involved and prosecute for persistent absence as a last resort. But they much prefer convincing the truants that school is a place they want and need to be. Christine Alsford, ITV News.
The families of 2 firefighters killed in an explosion in a fireworks factory have finally received compensation. It's 10 years since the incident at Uckfield in East Sussex, which killed Jeff Wicker and Brian Wembridge. East Sussex Fire and Rescue has confirmed all legal matters have now been resolved. Rail officials went to the High Court today to try to stop Southern Rail train drivers going on strike next week. Members of ASLEF are due to walk out on Tuesday. It will bring the service to a complete standstill. The rail company claims the action breaks European law, as Malcolm Shaw now explains.
The car park at Crowborough rail station in Sussex this morning. Normally it would be full of commuters' cars, but with the RMT conductors on strike, trains and passengers are few and far between. Bad news for local businesses who depend on the trade the station generates.
We've done a few taxis, but the station is empty. All the tradespeople round here haven't got the trade that they normally would have. It's just a shambles.
Close by the station is Jarvis Brew. The cafe opens at 5 a.m. to catch commuters, but since the rail dispute kicked in, takings on strike days have been down by 40%.
Between 5 and probably 8 o'clock, we'll probably see 5 customers, whereas, you know, we would have done a third of our trade, at least perhaps half of our trade by that time. So it's massive, it takes a real big hit.
Things are set to get even worse when members of ASLEF walk out next week in their dispute over driver-only trains. Today, rail bosses went to the High Court to try to stop the action. Southern claims the strikes contravene European law. With the dispute now in its 7th month, it's passengers like Teresa Hewitt who are feeling the effects most keenly. She set up a Facebook group called Southern Rail Sufferers.
The mood has just been very, very down. People, I think, are pretty angry. I think a lot of people understand both sides of the story, but they just want some sort of resolve because it's not the commuters' fault and it is us that's kind of suffering.
The High Court is expected to give judgment tomorrow, but if the train drivers do strike next week, it will bring the Southern service to a standstill. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Crowborough.
Crowds gathered in Portsmouth today as the former aircraft carrier Illustrious left for the last time. She set sail to Turkey, where she'll be stripped and scrapped. Richard Jones was there.
One more departure for the scrapyard, one less ship for visitors to see on a tour around Portsmouth Harbour. This send-off to an old warrior was a strangely muted affair because it's been such a long goodbye. She left the front line more than 2 years ago.
Fantastic ship, one of Her Majesty's finest in the Royal Navy. It's just a sad day for the Royal Navy.
There were plans to save her for the nation, but none came off. Former members of her crew feel more effort could have been made.
Would have been nice if we kept it somewhere, you know, for people to visit, a bit of heritage there. Portsmouth's got the ideal place, obviously, with the Mary Rose Victory Warrior.
So many people served on Illustrious over the last 3 decades, but this gathering is almost like a who's who of the Royal Navy, and they've all got stories to tell of the time when...
My son was actually christened on board, so his name is engraved on the ship's bell.
The ship sailed, stopped at sea, and everybody was dressed on board as Elvis, and we had a great day, and the captain stopped it in honour of the great man.
We travelled the world. We travelled to America quite a few times. We used to go to the Bahamas to do torpedo trials, so it wasn't always hard work.
But as one chapter ends, another begins. One of Illustrious's 18 captains is now in charge of her successor, Queen Elizabeth.
It's a stepping stone to the future, to the new aircraft carriers, Queen Elizabeth and the Prince of Wales, who in a very short number of months, Queen Elizabeth will be arriving here, going the other way, so fantastic.
Should she have left the fleet so early, or should she have sailed on? Should she have been scrapped or saved? The questions are academic now. Illustrious has gone. Richard Jones, ITV News.
Let's take a look at the weather now with all the details tonight. Here he is, it's Simon.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening. Well, you can give the hot water bottle a night off tonight because after a very mild day, it's staying mild overnight too. But there are a few downsides to that. Things turn a tad more unsettled with increasing cloud and some outbreaks of rain to look forward to, all courtesy of a weak weather front that's creeping steadily eastwards over the next 24 hours. The main rain on it further north than us, but we'll see a few splashes as we head through tomorrow. And then out to the west, you can see another low pressure system and with some wet and windy weather with it, and that's going to spoil spoil the start of the weekend. But for tonight, a few clear spells, bit of patchy mist here and there, but a fair bit of cloud too. And temperatures in many places staying up into double figures. Bit breezy as well, and we should get away with a dry start tomorrow, but fairly quickly the cloud will increase. And then by around 9-10 o'clock, we'll see some outbreaks of rain. Heavy to the north and west, turning light and patchy as it spreads eastwards. A lot of us staying dry as we head through the afternoon, but that breeze still relatively strong. Gusts of around 15-20 miles an hour along the coast and around the Isle of Wight. And your temperatures tomorrow, well, thanks to that wind bringing up that very mild air, if anything, it'll be warmer than today, with highs of around 12 or 13 degrees.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that's it for now. We're back during Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Do join Amanda for that. But from the late team, thank you for your company this evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night for now. Bye-bye.